Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you. Depends on the location and the time that you are watching these videos. My name is Behshad Sabah, and I'm going to go through my job hunt workshop presentation with you. I'm hoping that going through this job hunt workshop presentation will help you as a newcomer or job seeker to find your way and land the job and the position that you like in Canada. These presentations are recorded on January 2022. The content of this presentation is coming from my past work as mentor, which I started in 2009 with a government-funded program named Access Employment Center, and then after that with TRIAC. Based on my volunteer work as a mentor, I had to meet my mentees for 14 weeks or 4 months, 1 hour per week, and guide them to find a job that he or she wanted in the Canadian job market. Today, if you need a mentor, you can communicate with any government-funded programs like Access Employment, YMCA, JVA, to TRIAC mentoring partnership, and through the TRIAC, you will find the right mentor based on your resume and education. I also was a mentor for PEO, Professional Engineers Ontario, regarding the applicants who wanted to apply for their PEng or EIT license, and I worked with the PEO for 3 years on that regard. To start the job hunt, I'm going to ask you to do some tasks. And these are the tasks that I ask my mentees on a regular basis to do. And I'm going to start my actual hands-on presentation with the first task. The first task that I want you to do is to write down 10 of your hobbies and create a short story around that. And the story should be about 1 paragraph. Let me explain what I mean. When I say hobbies, it means we are not going to talk about religion, history, politics, or anything in that sort. We are going to talk about the type of music that we like, the music instrument that we play, the type of sport that we watch or do, the place that we want to go for vacation, and so on and so forth. And we need to write a story about it. For example, I like to ski, and I go to ski resorts during the winter and enjoy the weather and snow and these kind of things. Or I like to watch documentary movies because several different reasons. And then the last documentary movie that I watched was such and such. Write down these 10 hobbies with your short stories around them, make them short and sweet, and memorize them. In the next videos, when we talk about networking and the fine art of small talks, I explain to you why these 10 hobbies are important to have them and memorize them. Before we talk about the job hunt process, I would like to talk about Canadian economy a little bit. What we know about Canada economy. Most of the time, we don't have any clear idea about how Canada economy works, which segments are improving and which segments are dying, and how we should pick the right segment in the business or in the industry to have a secure job and position. To start, I recommend that we look at the GDP of Canada and then look at the GDP of other industrialized nations like United Kingdom, Germany, Japan, South Korea, Australia, and compare the gross domestic production value of Canadian economy to those countries. For example, if we look at, if you go to the Google and just type Canada GDP, that gives us the history of Canada GDP, the goods and bads, and then simply by putting name of another country here like Japan, it gives us the GDP of Japan based on the population and production. So this way, you can read and learn a lot about different industrialized countries around the world and their economy. For example, when you click on the Wikipedia link, you can read all these things. And if you are more relaxed or If you need to read it in different language, you can come to this area, and there are a lot of different languages that you can read this article, okay? So you can help this to learn about the economy of Canada. By looking at those GDP numbers, we notice that the Canadian economy is very vast and very diverse in almost every segment and sector. If you want to establish a career in Canada, I recommend that we look at the growing segments instead of dying segments. There is a report which is made by Mining Associations of Canada, and the name is Facts and Figures. So this is a report that I'm talking about. That's Facts and Figures 2018. Every year, the Mining Association of Canada produce this report, so you can easily find Facts and Figures 2020. And that's free of charge, and you can download it online. The report covers the whole Canadian industry, and in particular, the mining industry. The first 30 pages of the report talks about different segments and sectors of Canadian economy, and the last 70 pages talks about the mining industry specifically. By looking at the trend of Canadian economy, we notice that segments like automotive industry is shrinking year after year. The reason is automotive industry is very labor intensive, and making parts in Mexico would be very cheaper compared to Canada because the labor salary and labor cost, although the environmental rules and regulations are more relaxed in Mexico. For that reason, I will not recommend to anybody to start his or her career in automotive industry. If you have experience in automotive industry, the best possible section in Canada economy for you is aerospace sector. On the other hand, the mining industry is growing on average of $4 billion a year. And the wind turbine energy as renewable energy is growing year after year in Canada. So if you look at this report, the first 30 pages, it talks about the general aspects and sectors and sections of Canadian economy. On page 16, this specific report has a table that in this table on the left-hand side, you see different sectors of industry like agriculture, forestry, fishing, construction, manufacturing, trade as a wholesale, and so on and so forth, and mining in the middle. And from 2007 to 2017, that shows the data, how the industry worked in the past 10 years. And then at the end of this report, the last 70 pages, it talks only and only about the mining industry. So by looking at this report, other sectors like oil and gas has its own up and down, and some sectors like food industry, chemicals, pulp and paper, and so on and so forth, seems to be a steady with a small growth year after year. The other tools that you can learn from is your local newspaper. We have some samples here. I highly recommend that you start reading the business section or economy section of your local newspaper based on the city that you live in. You can get your hands on one of the newspapers like Toronto Star or Globe and Mail and so on and so forth, and look at their economy and or business section to learn about what's going on in the industry. If you would like to have the paper version, you can subscribe for that, or if you want to read it on the screen, you can always register for the news through your tablet, phone, computer, laptop, and so on. So by looking at the Facts and Figures report, GDP, and your local newspaper, you can definitely find the best sector and or segment for yourself to establish your career with a good job security for the future. As I said, this video is recorded in January 2022, and unemployment rate and immigration and population is changing. All of them are changing on a monthly basis or every 3 months or quarterly. So I'm not going to talk about the last 4 items here, because whatever that I say in January 2022 might be irrelevant after 6 months or 9 months. So let's look at the next slide. Now we are going to start the actual job hunt process. So let's see how we can expand our horizon. Before we do that, we should look at the fact that what we do right now to find a job. In general, a job seeker or a newcomer will go through some job search engines like Indeed, Workopolis, LinkedIn, jobs.ca, Glassdoor, and so on. And then you make profile and set some keywords there. Based on those keywords, the search engine will filter all the incoming job posts. And if there is any match between your keywords and the job post content, they will send you an email notifying you about that. Don't forget that the same email will go to all other applicants or registrants which have the same keywords in their profile. Then what do? You either have time to adjust your resume and then email it to the company for that opening, or you don't have time and you just blindly email your resume to that person or that company. Also, as a newcomer, you know a couple of companies that you are familiar with their name. You go through their website, you create your profile, you check their website every week or every other weeks to see if there's an opening for you. If there is, you apply. Otherwise, you don't have anything to apply for. I have some bad news for you. The first bad news is only 10% of the positions will be advertised online. So if there are 100 positions that are suitable for you to apply, only 10 of them will be advertised. And if you are lucky and you check all the job search engines and websites and companies, you only see 10 positions out of 100. So that was the first bad news. The second bad news is 90% of job seekers like you are focusing on that 10% advertised jobs. So you have a lot of competition for the same position. The last bad news is some of these advertised job postings are fake, so for several different reasons. Sometimes the company wants to show to the shareholders and the stakeholders that the company is active. Sometimes the company has ISO 9001 procedure. They already hired somebody, but based on the ISO 9001, they have to advertise it and interview, for example, 5 candidates. So they technically don't need anybody, but they post a job post. They do it to satisfy their ISO process. So now the main question is how we can tap into that 90% of hidden job market available, which are never being advertised. There are 2 ways to tap into that hidden market, which we will talk about during this series of videos. To start, we need to use available business directories free of charge. If you live in Toronto and you have access to Toronto Public Library, you can use their services online for free. If you live in a different city and you are a member of your local library, please contact them and ask them if they have Scott's Business Directory or Merchant Intellect Business Directory. I'm going to show you how we are going to use that business directory in a short time. If you don't have access to any of these and you have a friend or family member in Toronto area, then you can borrow their card number and their passcode from the library. And then you can use the services of Toronto Public Library online free of charge. So let's look at the Toronto Public Library and what we are going to do with that. So when you go to the Toronto Public Library in the sign-in page, you see such a page. You put the card number and passcode and you sign in. After you sign in, we will look at the search area. And then in the search area, we just put the Scott's Business Directory and we search the item. It gives us a long list of books, and there is 1 online services available for free. So we click on access online, and then we click on continue, and it takes us to the website of Scott's Business Directory. Scott's Business Directory has about, if I remember right, 500,000 businesses listed. So that would be a great help to us. Okay, this is the main page of Scott's Business Directory. What I need to do is, let's say that just I want to provide an example. So you can follow my example, and based on my example, you can make your own search. So let's say that I was working for a refinery back home, and as a process engineer, and I know that there is a company in Canada named Shell, and Shell has a refinery. I checked their website, there is no opening. But how can I find other refineries which have the same activity as Shell company? So what I do, I go to the company name, click on it. Then here I put the name of Shell company that I know. And I search these 540,000 companies with the keyword of Shell. As you see, 245 companies popped up because all the Shell gas stations and stuff. So I have to limit my search criteria. So I go to the number of employees. So the company that I'm looking for is a big company. Shell is a big company. So I put the number of employees like, 700 or 500 or whatever, to just drop all the gas stations stuff from the list. So there is one company, Shell Canada Limited in Calgary, click on it. And then what I see here, I see on this page some information about Shell Canada Limited. So I have the address, phone number, website, number of employees, some of the senior managers. But what I'm really looking for is this, the code for the petroleum refineries. Every company which is registered in North America has a unique 6-digit number for their activities. So all the petroleum refineries are identified with the code 324110, and that goes under NAICS, North American Industry Classification System. So what I should do, I should come back to the search manager, set a new search. On the left-hand side on the search criteria, go to NAICS, click on it. And then on this drop-down menu, click on it, find 324000, click on it. And then pick the first one, which is 324110 petroleum refinery, select this, and then search the whole database with this NAICS. So what it tells me is there are 109 companies in Canada that they have refineries, petroleum refineries, which I can work for them. So from having one company name, I moved to 109 companies. I just expand my horizon, expand the search area that I have. If I don't want to leave the province, like I'm living in Toronto, I don't want to leave Ontario, so I come to the province and set another filter here. So I pick only companies which are in Ontario out of 109 companies in Canada. And then what happens? It tells me that there are 41 companies in Ontario which they have refineries. So I click on the view manager, go to the summary view, and then the information will be presented to me in the format of a table. So some of this information I don't need. So I go to the summary view setting, and then I can pick the right amount, the right titles of the information that I want. So I need the company name, I need the telephone, I need the web, city, postal code, province, I don't need that, number of employees, I don't need that. So it seems that I don't need the rest information provided to me here. So I unclick them, then I click on the view. The good thing about this table is you can copy paste it into an Excel file. So I select the data. I already made a Excel file fresh. So I click on the B column and then dump the information here. We shouldn't forget that there are 2 pages. So I go to the next page, and then I select the rest of the companies, Control C, I come back here and Control V. So what I want you to do is, I want you to go through every single website that you have. If there is any job positions, well, apply for that. And then rank these companies with number 1, 2, or 3, which number 1 means companies that you love. Number 2 means companies that you are okay to work with. And number 3 are the companies that you don't care about them. So rank them 1, 2, and 3. 1, company that you love. 2, company that you like. 3, companies which you don't care about them. You don't love them, you don't like them, but if there's a job offer, probably you would work there. So that's the only thing that I want you to do using the Scott's Business Directory. So we talk about the Scott's Business Directory, we talk about North American Industry Coding System, we talked about the Excel list. Let's talk about Merchant Intellect, and then we come back to the LinkedIn Learning. If I go back to the Toronto Public Library website, and then here, instead of Scott's Business Directory, I search Merchant Intellect and search. That gives me almost the same business directory, different front end, but it does the same. There are 2 things which are different from the Scott's Business Directory. Number 1, make sure that you remove the tick here. So you get companies in Canada. If you need companies in the United States, you can click here. And then you just put the name of the company here and search for it. The difference is, in this case, Merchant Intellect will email you the Excel file, other than the Scott's Business Directory that you copy paste information into Excel file. So you can use this one as well if you don't like Scott's Business Directory. Then the last item is, a couple of years ago, lynda.com was an independent website. You could go there and learn a lot about IT, project management stuff. But the lynda.com was purchased by LinkedIn Learning. So again, if you go to the Toronto Public Library and you put lynda.com, LinkedIn Learning, doesn't matter, come here and you get started and you put the library card number and PIN number and you enter. So what's in it? There is a series of education courses named Body Language. So what I need from you is go through the LinkedIn Learning, through the Toronto Public Library, and start learning about body language. What's a body language? Body language means before we open our mouth and speak, the way that we sit, the way that we put our arms and hands, the way that we look around tells a lot about what we are thinking about. So we need to learn body language for 2 reasons, either to control our body in interview day, could be face-to-face, could be over the Zoom, but either way, to learn to control our body or to learn how to read other people's reaction to what we say. So read the interviewee panel, body's gesture. So that's the reason that we need the body language. You can use YouTube. There are a lot of body language educational videos online, but make sure that when they talk about body language, we talk about North American body language, because the body language in Italy and Europe and India and China and Japan are different from North America. So that would be the end of the first video. I hope I could teach you something to work on, and we will continue with video number 2.